Okay, so I have the new M2 MacBook Air here. Just got this. I did one video which was kind of unboxing. I'll do much more detailed impressions today, but I'll also be comparing it with the M1 MacBook Air, which I still have. And both of these are 8 GB machines with 512 hard drives, so it's a very apple-to-apple comparison between these two. Look at it from the outside first, and then we'll go in. Now for the outside, of course, I went for the dark color, and it's a very nice color. Looks great. It's called Midnight Blue. One of the things you hear about this color, of course, is that it attracts a lot of fingerprints, and if I hold it up to the light like so, you will notice that it does. So only a few days of usage and already a lot of fingerprints. So if this bothers you, obviously you will want to avoid this color. By comparison, the old one, the space gray color, although I've used it heavily, shows almost nothing at all. So that's a better color in that respect. Now, practically from a day-to-day basis, it doesn't bother me all that much because, once you start working, you don't notice it that much. You can clean it from time to time. The main difference is that the wedge shape is gone, right? This is the classic MacBook Pro kind of a profile, so it's even. Whereas ever since Steve Jobs took the first Air out of that envelope, they've always had this wedge shape. So I'm going to miss the wedge shape. I was rather fond of it. It's the classic profile for the MacBook Air, but that's gone. We got to move on. One thing that has come back though is the MagSafe adapter. Now I did miss it when they stopped putting it in, and it's as good as ever. In fact, it's better. You get the color matched braid, strong magnet. You can pull the laptop, but if I jerk it, it comes off as it is supposed to do. So that's very nice, and so we get this a little bit of old and a little bit of new in this. Now you get the two USB ports like you had in the old one, but because it's a separate power now, you actually get 3 ports now, right? So you get these two, and I have a use case in which I have to plug 2 external hard drives into it, and I can do that on this machine as opposed to the old one which required a dongle. So that's nice. It's like an extra port, and I will take it. You can still charge it, by the way, with one of the USB ports as well. So that's still available. One other thing about the outside is that because it's a dark color, it looks a little bit smaller than the old one, right? But if I stack them one on top of the other, you'll notice that they are in fact the same size, right? Just maybe give or take a little bit, a smidgen here or there, but basically exactly the same frame and exactly the same size. So you get the same machine in size and in weight as well. The weight is practically the same as well. Okay, so let's open them up. Opening up the MacBook Air, it's the same solid hinge design that you're used to. Open it up with one finger, no problem at all. Basically, it is very similar to the old one except for a couple of details. We'll go into that. And I'll just put it side by side to the M1 Mac so you can just compare them. Keyboard first. You get the full-sized function keys here, whereas in the old one you had the half-sized function keys, right? So that's the big difference over here. Other than that, it's exactly the same thing. Now, one of the things that you will notice is because of the color, because it's a dark background, the keys look like they're both congested and more close together with each other. That's not the case. It's exactly the same keyboard as on the silver one. But because it's dark keys on a dark background, it looks as if the keys are closer set. Now, on this one, of course, the contrast is much better. It takes a little getting used to. I wasn't expecting, but because the color, but it did bother me for a little while. And if it bothers you, you might want to sort of check it out in a shop before you buy it. But just something to keep in mind. Other than that, it's the same great keyboard, same trackpad, same inverse T. So apart from the top row, really no difference. Now let's talk about the screen. And of course, we have the notch. It gives you a taller screen, I should say, also slightly wider, and it's about a finger's worth. The notch doesn't bother, honestly. It's you stop noticing it. Also, let me just show you how it works in application. So I'm going to do is I'm going to open Excel over here. I'm going to also open Excel on this one as well, and this one goes to row 42, and on the M1 Mac it goes to row 41. You get a little bit more screen space. You get to column V on one, column V and a half on the other one. So not as much as you might expect. So what happened to that extra space? Well, it's still up there on the top. But as soon as you go into full screen mode, the bezel at the top actually increases, and you get the black band just like on the old one. But if you move up, the toolbar shows up there, right? And the toolbar shows up there, the notch is still there. As you can see, the cursor does hide behind it, I should say. So that works out quite nicely. You get the full screen and the toolbar space is still available. Whereas on the old one, if I had used it on this one, if I had moved it all the way up on the M1 Mac, you will, as you know, the whole thing would move down. So the window title would also move down. Now it's a small change, but actually quite welcome for me because I found this whole title bar moving down and up a little bit annoying. Sometimes I would be reaching for something on the top and I would accidentally go all the way to the top and it'll just move everything around. Doesn't happen on the M2, much more handy like this. So it's a small quality of life improvement, but I will take it. And one of the things you will notice is that the screen brightness is both on full brightness. This is slightly brighter than that. This is 500 nit as compared to the 400 nit. I'm going to move them to full brightness now so you can compare them. You know, for again, looking at it side by side, you don't notice that much difference. I suspect outdoor in the sunlight, there might be more difference. I haven't actually tried that yet. But yes, the screen is 500 nit as opposed to 400 nits on the M1 Max. So it's slightly brighter. It's a nice, clean, slightly bigger display, and I could use it all day. Okay, the camera. So this one has a 780p camera, 1080p on the new one. Clear difference on this one. Obviously 1080p is better. So if you use a lot of meetings, I will take the M2 any day of the week. Visibly different, better camera. This one, finally the Air has a decent camera, and so that's a big improvement on this machine. So there you have it. This is the M2 MacBook Air first look, first impressions, screen, keyboard and everything. I haven't talked about the sound. One thing about the sound is that you don't get these speaker grills on the side of the keyboard. They're underneath the keyboard, and so the sound fires up. In my testing, the sound the loudness is the same, but you get a bit more depth and a bit more definition on the bass, at least in my testing. I'm not an audiophile, but I just felt the difference. And so it's a nice sound, slightly better sound stage, and again, I'll take it. So overall, a lot of small improvements, the bigger screen, much better camera. In the coming videos, I'll be talking about the actual performance, and again, I'll do it head-to-head to the M1 MacBook Air to see what the performance improvements are. That will come later, so please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and that's it for now.